and I will give you the go signal. And you're on camera. The go signal. I'm spotlighting you, Andrew, and let's start. You're on camera.
Okay.
I'm spot.
Earphones will be cold. Puppy. I'll put that puppy.
Okay, so we are going to start in 30 seconds, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you guys are. So we are going to start in 30 seconds or less. We are giving chance to everyone get into the Zoom in link. Some people are still signing up. So in 30 seconds, we will start our introductions. I can see lots of people already joined in. So welcome everyone. Today's our session is diversity, parenthood, careers, and pandemics backlash. And this event is sponsored by Society for Canadian Women in Science and Technology. It's a 40th anniversary we are celebrating, and it's on the virtual NGO CSW Forum 65. So here are our panelists for discussion today. And they will be Dr. Smitha, Dr. Mary De Vera, Juliet, and Ms. Elizabeth Paul. Before we begin our session, I would like you to share with me the land acknowledgement, and please acknowledge the land wherever you guys are situated. I'm situated in Manitoba, Winnipeg, Manitoba here. So I'm going to read my land acknowledgement part here. So we acknowledge that we are gathered on the ancestral land, the Treaty 1 territory, and our campuses are located on the original land of Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dani peoples, and on the homeland of Métis Nation. We respect that the treaties were made on these territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we dedicate ourselves to move forward in the partnership with Indigenous communities and in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. We acknowledge that our water is a source from Shore Lake 40 First Nation. Here to help you start it, there are some housekeeping rules. Please note that today's event will be video recorded and it is already live on our YouTube channel with a closed captioning in English. We will take oath that we will keep our mobile muted. Chat box will be monitored and questions will be directed to moderator to ask during question and answer round. If you did not get a chance to have your question answered, our networking list will include our speakers, so you don't have to worry, it will be answered. Our mission at Society for Canadian Women in Science and Technology is to create an environment where women and girls in Canada, they can pursue their interest, education, and careers in STEM, like science, technology, engineering, and math, without barriers. We aim to accomplish through education, networking, mentorship, partnership, and advocacy. So here are some of the program we do it, like in a Make Possible. This is mentorship program to advance careers of women in STEM. We do the mentorship thing, we do the leadership opportunity, and there is IVIX program that is for especially immigrant women in STEM. This is an excellent opportunity for immigrant women for networking, for skill development workshop, and join the job fair and job seeking tools are there. Another program we have it for school program is MS Infinity. It is math, science, there are infinite options. So STEM conferences, we do it. Then there are some scholarship and lots of volunteer opportunities are involved in MS Infinity program. So there are some of the events. Please make sure to have a look at our website. Like for example, we have workshops on professional and personal development. There are weekly brown bag lunches, and there are much more. I just listed a few here. There are much more. Feel free to check our website. So without any delay, I'm going to introduce you to our moderator for today's session, Elizabeth Paul, and she's the Director and Policy and Impact with the Society for Canadian Women in Science and Technology. So please help me join and welcome Ms. Elizabeth Paul. Here you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Anu. Hello, everyone. Very glad to be here. Thank you for joining us. Quickly gonna dive in and introduce, let the speaker introduce themselves. As you introduce yourself, I would like you to mention one negative impact that the pandemic had on your career because of your gender. And because I'm a positive person, I want you to mention one positive aspect that the pandemic had. I will start with Dr. Smitha Jani. She is the Executive Director at Indio Bioscience. Smitha.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Just to check, I am audible, right?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So at the very outset, thanks, Christine, for the invitation, Anju, for the introduction to the society, and Elizabeth, thanks for that kind introduction. So I'm Smitha Jani from India Bioscience. We are basically a very unique program based out of India. And very quickly, I'll give my introduction. So I'm basically born and brought up in different parts of this huge, diverse country. And that has really helped me shape, to what I am today. And again, being brought up in a family where gender was never an issue. It was a very, very balanced system that we grew up. And that again shaped a lot of, my thinking that I have today. So yes, last 20 years, I'm based in Bangalore. I did my PhD in cancer biology, but post that moved into diverse career options and gradually got into science administration and management. Coming to the question that Elizabeth asked, one positive impact and one negative impact of the pandemic. Personally on me, I don't think there has been a negative impact. It has given us a lot of time to self-introspect, to, decide our priorities, especially towards the environment, towards this earth. So I would not say that there has been a negative impact. Again, being a very positive person, I would draw a lot of positives from this pandemic. And that being, my family learned a lot, including my kids who are now, 18 and 13, to pitch into household chores. So that has been a big time positive. Then the team with whom I work, we really came together because we were most productive working from, again, diverse corners of the country, sitting at home. We have been most productive in last 1 year. So I would say that pandemic has had more positives on me personally. But yes, and that for that, I guess I really thank my own self for being fortunate. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the discussion further. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Smitha. Always good to look from the positive side of things. I would like now to introduce Dr. Mary De Vera. She is an associate professor at the Pharmaceutical Science in UBC here in Vancouver. Hi, Mary.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the introduction. So going straight to that question, I guess a negative impact of the pandemic is I've certainly felt like the pressure of, now being at home, having to be a daycare and a school while still doing the work that I do at the university. And then also the switch from face-to-face teaching to online teaching has also been quite difficult, especially when you're trying to Zoom in front of 224 students who are basically just looking at like blank screens on a Zoom. So I've definitely felt that negative impact. But the positive is in staying more at home, my children and I have discovered talents that we didn't know that we have. I didn't know I'm a great sewer. I have an 8-year-old who's probably going to be a famous fashion designer. And we didn't know that we're actually really good bakers. And if you follow me on Twitter, you will see a lot of these creations. So thank you and looking forward to the panel.
Excellent. Thank you, Mary. And finally, I would like to introduce Juanita De Souza Hulete. She's currently on the Board of Governors at the University of Manitoba. And she had a long list of accomplishments that, so I introduce you to go look at her background. So Juanita.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Thank you for having me on this platform to share my personal stories and experience. I'm originally from Ghana in West Africa, and but I've been in Canada, specifically Winnipeg, for over 30 years. So I'm a Canadian, more or less. Being a woman in STEM industry, I've learned a lot over the last 30 years, from when I started as an intern with IBM Canada to a number of management positions, especially my experience as the first female to head and transform the IT division of the Winnipeg Police Service. There have been many successes, failures, disappointments, frustration, and if anything at all, it made me stronger and who I am today. This led me to a greater desire and passion to empower other women and girls and continue to break barriers for women and new immigrants, sharing my personal and professional experience as I believe together we can make the world a better place. Currently a founding member of the Board of Advisor for Women in Cybersecurity, a patron for Ghana Mission Queen Girls. Being on a leadership, a lot of leadership.
Excuse me, Juanita, could I just interrupt? Could you, everybody in the audience, could you please mute yourselves? We are being interrupted right now. Thank you very much. Juanita, go ahead.
Thank you. So recently, I sent a short survey out to people in my network, bosses, family, friends, co-workers, volunteer staff, to use 3 words to describe what I mean to them or what I am. I received about 50 responses back so far, and the responses were consistent. So hopefully this sum me up for you. Result-oriented, go-getter, coach, mentor, leader, dedicated, motivator, professional, positive energy, educator, long life learner, selfless, fast-paced, fearless, trusting, hardworking, experienced, knowledgeable, technical, ambitious, adventurous, a friend, a sister, integrity, equality, optimistic, counsel, direct, real, honesty, and the list goes on and on. So for me, life is amazing. I have dreams, plans, trials. I've been tested many times, both personally and professionally. So yes, life can be unfair. Sometimes not easy. And yes, I have my fair share of frustrations, disappointment, and failures. But I don't let that define me. It rather makes me strong. My frustration leads to motivation for me. And so is the ongoing pandemic that we are all in, with lots of uncertainties and unknowns. Yes, I'm vulnerable, nervous, anxious, afraid, scared. I do cry when I need to. When my whole world comes crumbling on me, I'm terrified and frustrated just like everybody else. But giving up is not an option for me. I try to be kind to myself and generous and be me, Nita, as people may call me, and live life to the best as I can and be grateful each day. So at this stage in my life, my mission is to make a difference in the world, and especially in women and girls. Where I can, I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Juanita. That was a wonderful list of characteristics.
Oh, I didn't add your other questions. Sorry. So to answer your question about positive and negative things, and again, I'll be quick on this one. Being in a STEM industry, one of it that I found, because I'm in a management position and leading a lot of projects, there was this non-inclusive behaviors that I experienced more during the lockdown because we're all working from home. There have been meetings that were set up and they will use technology. They try to reach you on chat or whatever, you were not there, those kind of excuses. And longer working hours because as a woman, I have empathy. So checking in with my staff regularly to make sure everybody is okay, especially those with kids, making sure I've given them enough flexibility to be more effective was great. The most positive thing for me was reflection on what I want to do during my retirement, which could be any time from now or in the next 5 years, is to do this, is to continue to be on platforms like this to empower and break barriers. So thank you.
Thank you, Juanita. I thought you had already answered the positive aspect in your description. I think that with that list of you keep it handy, and we can all look at it. All right, I'm going to dive right in. Actually, in terms of the way we're organized, we're going to have some questions for the panelists at the beginning. Then we're going to have a general list of questions with all the group, and then we will go in breakout room where we can have just a bit more intimate, and we can chat some more. So I'm going to start with the first question. The first one is specifically about childcare. And as we all know, child-rearing still falls disproportionately on us, and sometimes, depending where you are in the world, exclusively to women. And it was made really apparent in the pandemic because it totally exacerbated this fact. So we'd like to invite Winnie to answer this. I wanted to know first, what do you think would be the impact in the workplace if all women that needed childcare would actually have access to it? What do you think the impact would be?
So most women, as we know, face balancing multiple responsibility, both at home and work already. So the pandemic just added a little bit more, made it a bigger challenge, as you've heard from the panelists, that, trying to juggle some positive, some negative, but trying to identify what you are. And in terms of the workplace, I personally feel that the impact of childcare is huge. From my own personal experience, having 3 boys at a point in my life under 6, and trying to be a full-time mom, doing my PhD program, and also cater for them, and having a childcare was a big issue. So it's very, very important that we have childcare looked at in Canada as a whole. I think it's something that will improve the mental health of women, and it will give women options. Right now, a lot of women are doing part-time or job share, things like that, because of the inability of childcare that's accessible to them. Women are leaving the workforce. I have friends who are not taking on promotions because they feel they won't have the same flexibility if they take that promotion because of childcare and stuff like that. I think it will have a lot of positive progression on women in terms of getting more into leadership position, especially taking courses, certifications, and stuff like that. Some of those courses take time away from you, from the childcare responsibility and other house chores that you have, and then increased performance of women. I can talk about myself. Childcare had been an issue when my kids were younger, and the emotional toll on me, and going to work and giving it 100%, I would say I never gave it that 100% when my boys were younger, because I was constantly thinking about, okay, are they okay? I was forced to put them into an unlicensed facility because that's what I could afford at that time. And if you look, women are being underrepresented in a lot of other areas. Not that women, because we don't have the choices, right? So if we have childcare taken care of, women could take on more courses and be in better positions. Mental health of women may improve for sure, less disrupting to working women, especially the pandemic, right? We have to, for me personally, I have to make sure everybody is safe. I'm constantly cleaning and things like that as well. So all the other, like Elizabeth put it, unpaid labor that we do. So taking one thing like childcare, which is key to every woman, is very, very important and will make us more productive and be a better part of society. And also some of this inequality and diversity issues, it will limit some of these issues as well.
Thank you. I like there is a word for it that's currently escaping me. The weight that we have on our shoulder, that we always are thinking about all the issues that I have doing, which you related. I mean, it does affect our mental health and our capacity to perform at 100%. If somebody knows the word I'm looking for, please put it in the chat. But I found it's really, really true. And you have it in this period when your kids are really young. It doesn't go away when they're teenager. There's ways like this, but that weight is constantly there. Just wrapping this up, I guess, do you think that, do you believe that free or affordable childcare it's something that should be made available like as a regular service?
Absolutely, absolutely. Having a universal childcare system is really great. Like I said, I have 3 sons under 6. The emotional torture for me during those times, looking for affordable childcare. We have to make a decision. Actually, we have to talk about whether I should stay home or go back to work. That decision shouldn't even happen if there is an affordable childcare or universal childcare system. But we had that discussion with my husband. I'm lucky to have a husband who is very progressive and very supportive. I must say that. He said, okay, more than half of your salary is going to go into childcare, but that's the decision I made. So definitely universal affordable childcare is something that all government should make available in all countries to all women. Because we take a break. It's not our choice to take a break. It's our choice to have a baby. It's our choice to bring a child to this world, but it's not our choice to have a break, right? The choice comes with the responsibility of bearing a child. So why should we be punished for it? I personally was refused a raise because I was gone on maternity leave, even though my work performance and everything was great. I was told, oh, you were gone for a year, so you won't get the raise. Wow, really? Yes, they didn't give me the raise. So, these kinds of discrimination, biases, because we have a child, I think is uncalled for. Childcare should be on every government's agenda. And this should be something that should be looked at. Look at Quebec. Quebec have done this for 5 years. And look at the effectiveness of it, right? Women don't have to think about what they have to do, how much they can afford or not afford. At 1998, when I have to put my 3 boys to daycare, unlicensed daycare was the cheapest I got for $1,300. I have a grade 1 boy I have to take to school. I could not afford to take him to school. I was paying $300 for a kiddie cab to take him back and forth to school. That's $1,500. So in a way, I have to look for other options to cover for that, right? Either I work part-time or not. So I think universal daycare is something that every government have to start talking about, especially if we talk about diversity, inclusion, and all that. To me, it's worse. I need to see actions. I'm not seeing enough actions. There are policies for employers to incorporate that in, but who is holding them accountable? Is it done at the top leadership level? Where are we? What progress have we made? Has this been measured? Are there indicators for that? So I can go on and on. In the interest of time, I'll leave that for people who wants to follow me to the breakout room. I can talk at length on this. But again, like I said, I think this is very, very important. I withdrew from my PhD program due to childcare. So again, I can go on and on with my own personal experience, but I'll give others opportunity to talk as well.
Thank you, Juanita. I agree with this. I like the sentence, removing that discussion. We should not have that discussion, do we have to do this? Hopefully the pandemic will push some of the policies forward, and I encourage everyone here to be very vocal when those discussion come about. All right, now I'm going to go. So we talked about childcare. I'm actually going backwards. I'm taking you on a trip today. Now we're going to go back to parental leave, so setting the stage. So let's go back to the time where at the beginning, those wonderful, human beings come into our life. They create a bundle of joy and sleepless night. In Canada, we have still a great system, where we get about 50 weeks, there's 15 weeks for the mom and then 35 weeks that can be shared between any of the parents. And the choice is a personal one. And I don't necessarily want to talk today about the personal choice of taking this. What I would like to explore, and Juanita talked a bit about it, is the consequences. The consequences that a woman experiences when we are taking the leave. So the question is, can you propose a solution that could be implemented so that the parental year gap in a career does not negatively affect women? And I would like to start with Mary, if you wanted to.
Thank you. So I think we all know that as women, we don't have a lot of time to have children. And as women in STEM, we're often thinking about having children, pregnancies, parenting, leaves when we're either training or when we're starting our careers. So I want to draw from my own experiences when I had my own leaves with my 2 children. And I think there are 2 key considerations for solutions to target. The first one is being able to afford taking a leave to begin with. And I think Juanita spoke on some of those aspects. And the second one is the impact on career progression. So for my first child, I was actually a postdoc, and I was only eligible for 6 months of paid parental leave from my funding agency. So I actually didn't have a 1-year leave. So the good news is that since 2019, the major funding agencies in Canada, at least our Thrive Council funders, have now extended paid parental leave to 12 months for graduate students and postdoctoral fellows that hold funding from these agencies. So it's great to have this solution in place. And as someone who is training the future generation of women in STEM, it is encouraging to be able to have this conversation about parenting and leaves and be able to let them know that there are supports in place that I didn't have. So I'm happy to see that. The second one is, aside from affordability, is that impact on career progression. So we are taking that pause from careers. So again, this has a lot of implications for women in STEM when we are at that point when we're taking this leave, when we're trying to get these research programs started, when we're trying to start that productivity that is demanded of us. So I think everybody can share that a career in STEM, there's a lot of tremendous pressure in it. So again, some positive policies in Canada that I actually have directly benefited from. So one of them is called doubling the leave credits for early career researchers. So in Canada, the first 60 months from the start of your appointment, you're considered early career. And again, you are going to be evaluated and reviewed based on your performance during that time. So with this policy, you are able to extend that time where you can have take the time that you had on leave to be able to produce. A second policy, which is actually in direct response to the COVID-19 pandemic, is called Pause the Clock, where in that researchers who held an early career status as of March 1st, 2020, will actually able to keep their early career status for 1 more year. So again, I've benefited directly from these policies, and these extensions were really an equalizer, especially if you're being reviewed against a colleague, maybe a man who didn't have to take such leaves. So basically, we just want that opportunity to have the same time to be able to do the work, which is what these policies allow. So I think that, in Canada, particularly with our research funders, we've taken great steps. And I think it's possible to replicate and adapt these policies to other industries.
Thank you. This is very heartwarming to hear that certain policies are becoming in place. I think it's really, really good. Smitha, do you want to join in?
Yes, thanks, Elizabeth. I guess I really like the word paternal leave rather than maternal leave or maternity leave, which is what it's called in many countries. I guess that's one thing that should change across the globe, because only then the message would go that though it's primarily the woman who bears, or the mother who bears most of the responsibility of bringing the child to this earth, but it's an equal responsibility that both parents have to share. So that's one. Okay, coming to the India context, I would say that again, I would draw parallels from my own journey. When I had my first baby, I was doing my PhD. And at that time, we were eligible for 3 months of maternity leave. I worked till the end. Luckily, in India, the support systems are very different. You have either support from family, or you can afford to have a nanny at home. When my first child was born, the daycares were not so prevalent, but they were there. But luckily, I had family support to take care of the baby. So I started within 2 months of the baby coming into this world. I went back to the lab. But yes, when the second baby was born, I was at that point I took a very conscious decision of stepping aside and giving my career a break. I did not think much about how this is going to go forward. But honestly speaking, that break also gave me time as an individual to think, introspect that what I want to do ahead. Because post my PhD, I had moved out of research. I was exploring myself. I was exploring my career options. I was working in R&D in an industrial setup. So I myself wanted to take that break. And luckily with, the second one coming into this world, I could get that break and think. But again, Elizabeth, coming to your question, what can help? I would say that, don't take it just as a maternity or a parental leave. Even if you're away from work, I guess one can stay connected, and such forums, such networks are really, really helpful for any woman to, remain engaged with their peers, their friends, in order to stay updated about what's happening in the world. So that's one thing that, most women must keep in mind when they are taking that break. That break is really, really critical, important for the woman, also for the child, because it's a time when you form that bond with the baby. But yes, professionally, if you stay alert, you upskill yourself, take the time to upskill yourself, or do things that you want to do as an individual. And that's precisely what I did when I took that break post my second baby. And I guess at no point later in my life I ever regretted that decision, because that not only gave me time to reflect, think, but take some right decisions regarding my career later on. So yeah, I guess I would say stay connected, stay updated, learn new skills, and that is what will give you new direction, especially when you're coming back to the mainstream, or at work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I totally agree with you that paternity leave, parental leave was a time for introspection. I guess the pandemic created this, but the last time I remember thinking about, oh my God, what is important in life was when I was on parental leave. And sometimes can
Yes.
create an absolute career change.
Yes.
Now, of course, for me, I deployed. I remember looking at the graph of my salary, and there's a certain angle, and then I can see both parental leave in there where my angle has changed, which I really deplore. And actually really deplore the word break that you're using. Oh my God, is it ever a lot of work during that break? I don't know why we're calling it a break. It's should be need of a different word. So actually, not only I would like my graph to have stayed the same, I'm thinking I did so much work that I should have an incline the other way. I should be getting a raise. I am actually raising the next generation of this world, but that will be for the next century, I think. Let's focus on keeping that stable. I can see Juanita dropped off. Hopefully she can come back in. Now I'm actually going to go before parental leave. Like I said, I am bringing you backward. We're going to talk about house chores. This is ground zero, even before kids. In order to achieve the full workplace diversity where each gender would be equally represented, we need to talk about, they keep dropping.
I keep dropping. I changed my location, so.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. We need to talk about, the division of house chores within the family, within a couple, within the different partner before children comes into the picture. In your experience, are there cultural changes that are needed in order for the division of the unpaid labor to be on an even ground within a household even before children would come in? And can you name a solution or share a solution that you would have that would help to achieve this? And I would like to start with Juanita, now that she's back.
Yes, this is an area that I don't think there have been some progress made. And, just chatting with the panelists 2 days ago, I think we all have a progressive husbands that have supported us in this ecosystem of unpaid domestic work. So for me, what we started doing even when we were dating is division of labor, partnership. So what I always suggest to young couples or whatever is take a stock of your domestic ecosystem, the invisible and often unacknowledged work that is not being recognized. And also, sometimes I determine what are the important work that is needed for the family. Sometimes we do things because we want to do it, right? So once you determine the important task that needs to be done, then you now have a discussion with your husband, right? So I like to cook. So the father, I like to cook. And even when, instead of ordering food in and making breakfast for my kids every morning, that's my choice. So if it's his turn to do breakfast and he wanted to order in, I should be able to accept that. The other big thing is to determine your strength in terms of some of the house chores that you really want to do. There are certain things I won't even try to do. Mowing the lawn, vacuuming and things like that. I don't like it and I won't do it. And there are some chores that I intentionally don't want to do. And the main reason is once I know how to do it, it will become part of my unpaid task. So I just don't know how to do it. And if I don't like it, I just have to let it be. And I think one other thing for we women, whether married or unmarried, especially during the pandemic, where we have to be doing a lot of cleaning, going for groceries, cleaning all the stuff. For me personally, even when my boys order Amazon stuff, I have to make sure it's clean. Those are stuff I put on myself. So that I should not expect my partner or other people in the house to do the same, because that's something I'm doing for the benefit of the family. So the other thing is to look at yourself and look at what am I looking at of this partnership? Is it more recognition and acknowledgement, or actually helping me with the work? If it's helping me with the work, then we also have to accept how the other partner does that work and should not be very critical on that person. And claim your right to be interested, because I feel we all have 24 hours a day. So, if I'm putting in, half of that in work, another quarter into household chores, and not have time for myself, it's not good for my well-being. So be able to reclaim yourself as well. So those are some of the things I in terms of that question.
Yes, I agree. I mean, ignorance is a bliss. That's a good, it's a good lesson to learn. So certain tasks we don't need to know how to do. Somebody else already does. What about you, Smitha? Which tricks do you have?
Interesting question, honestly, Elizabeth. Again, in a country like India, where it's a very different culture, and I guess in most of the households, boys and girls are brought up very, very differently. A girl is made to learn all the life skills from day one for whatever reasons, but boys mostly just enjoy their life. No one ever tells them or teaches them any life skill that they must have to, in fact, take care of their own lives. And that's where the problem comes. And I would say that this is not the fault of the men who are brought up like that. It's the fault of the whole cultural setup. Things have changed. Things are changing drastically. And as I said in my introduction, I was very lucky to be part of a household where, my father he's a scientist, but he would really spend good amount of time at work, at home, doing household chores, helping mom, helping, us grow up. And that's what influenced my thought process. But I really feel that change would come only and only when the parents bring up their kids equally and make them capable of all those life skills that are required once you start an independent life, regardless of being single or you get married and you start living your life with a complete stranger. Again, mostly in India, it's not love marriage, that you know a person or you've lived with that person before your marriage. It's like you end up in a house which is completely new to you. The family members are new. Again, in India, it's not just that you are living with your spouse. It's also parents who live with you. So there's a lot of adjustments that a woman has to make when, she comes or becomes part of a new household. And that's where I feel that only a mindset and a cultural change in times to come will help strike that balance. Else, most of the responsibility comes on women. Women who know how to make adjustments sail through, but with time in today's generation, with girls becoming more empowered, I guess that's where a huge rift gets created, and it actually ends up in situation which is not very good. And again, what we were just talking about, mental health and all those issues also come into picture. So according to me, I really feel that this has to start at the parental level, and they have to learn to bring up their kids very differently, not like what they were brought up. And that's precisely what, as a mother or with my husband, we are trying to do with our kids, that there's absolutely no gender difference and they both grow up equally. Yeah. Thanks, Elizabeth.
I most agree with this in terms of setting the example and setting the rules. We have two boys here at home, a 14 and a 16-year-old, and in the pandemic, it is now, I would say, mandatory. So each of them have to cook one meal a night, and each of them has to sous chef one meal a night. And it was obvious remember when that March break started last year and lasted forever, and you're both working parents and you come at 6 and the kids are still in front of their screen asking what's for the meal. And it's like, okay, how about what's for the meal? And you cook while we're working. So we have started this, and it was, there's some fights at the beginning, and you eat differently because they cook what they want. You have to encourage them, but it is working. And now they understand, they pick their meal and all of this. So absolutely. Yeah. Changing the rule of the household is key. What about you, Mary?
I want to pick up on what Smitha mentioned. I think we need to break the societal and cultural norms. And platforms like this, where we're empowering women to say, enough is enough. It's okay to speak up and say, we have to change these roles, because we're the ones that are going to be changing these expectations of what men and women should be. So I guess I'm very lucky. I grew up in a very progressive house. My mom raised 3 boys, and I think their wives and girlfriends are happy that my brothers are great cooks. They do their laundry, they clean the house. So, I'm not raising a son, but I am raising my daughters to have higher expectations for their future partners. And I guess just to model that, I don't think it's here, just as a confession. So again, talking about like pandemic pressures, my husband came home one day and asked me about something. And I was like, no, I was, working. It's like, well, you're home all day. And I'm like, you did not just say that. So I went on a strike. So I'm like, let's just see what happens if you don't get this in the house. So I actually saw my mom do that, and it really worked in terms of getting my dad to do something. So don't be afraid to stand up and take a strike. So let the house go dirty, because it will clean itself. Normally the man will start cleaning. So
I do like the strike idea.
That's very true. Yeah, that's what I mean by pick your fight. Like,
pick your fight.
Certain things, don't even try to figure out how to do it. Just don't mow the lawn. It will be mown.
Smitha, you want to add something?
Yes. I guess that's a very, very valid point, Mary, that you made. And I guess I'll share a very personal experience here. When I got married, as I said, for no fault of, I would not say it was the fault of my husband, because he would never understand, because he was never made to, take care of the household. And it's only with time, either by telling, either by these long discussions or at times fights. But then it's only time that, teaches you that, no, you have to put your foot down, else you can't go on with all the responsibilities, with your kids, with your work, with the house, with the family members, the guests, and everyone. The expectation just keeps rising high and higher and higher. So, and that's where what Mary just said, that as a woman, we have to set our boundaries. We have to let people know, regardless of what the consequences are. We have to let people know that this is the limit, this is what we will do. And beyond that, you are free to take decisions or do whatever you wish to do. I have seen that most many fall in line there. When as a woman you set your limits, and that's a message I would definitely want to convey, that one needs to learn to set those boundaries early on.
And just to pick up what you just said, and I think that needs to be communicated to them. Sometimes we don't communicate to the household. We need to communicate to our kids, our boys. They know, for me, I do the cooking, dishes, anything else after that, I don't touch it. And sometimes, yes, there are dishes there for 2 days, 3 days. It will be done until somebody else does it. I'm not doing it.
Very true, very true. Same rule in our house. Whoever's cooking is not cleaning, and that works for everybody. And the kids have learned that one. This as well. I cook, so I'm not putting the stuff in the dishwasher, and it's fair because then we apply the same rules to them as we go. I agree. I mean, since we're by default the uncontested leader of the household, then we get to set limits. So I agree with Smitha. Do not be shy to set limits. And as Juanita said, communication is the key to success. Thank you very much for all the wonderful ideas. And hopefully people are listening and taking notes and getting some ideas for home. Now, last question. And there's so many questions that are coming up. We're going to have a good Q&A session. I want to move on to the last one. And I called it Desperate Times Call for Desperate Measure. So I want to go back. Ooh. Sorry, I got mixed up by myself. I wanted to go back to when the pandemic hits and a lot of people ended up losing their work and shifting to work from home. And, a lot of women, we ended up with 2 full-time jobs. And I think Mary alluded to this, suddenly they're here, you have to teach them, you have to entertain them, and then you have to feed them. So what do you think we could do as a concrete action to level the playing field? And I know we started talking about all of this, and maybe, we've already answered that one, but if you needed to level the playing field between a woman that's working in STEM and the demands we have at work and a partner, working in a similar job, but sometimes they have one full equivalent and we have like 1.5 or 175 or 2, which concrete action do you think that should be taken? And it could be either on the personal level or at policy levels. Which one do you think we should push forward? Smitha.
Can I go first, Elizabeth?
Yes, sorry, I was saying this and I muted myself at the same time.
Okay. So I guess, the field will become level playing field only and only if, one, there's a cultural change, a mindset change that women can do. The society starts to accept this fact that women have the capability to take decisions and to take on diverse kinds of responsibilities. That also means more women in the leadership role, because moment women start going at higher positions, the policies would change. I certainly feel that they would enable policies which would help more women come up. That's one. Second, I feel to have a level playing field is to develop this concept of sisterhood that my role model Indra Nooyi always keeps talking of. That you have this concept of sisterhood where women support each other. That will also help bring a change. And third, I really feel that women themselves also have to bring in a mindset change. As we just spoke about, somewhere we have to learn to draw boundaries, communicate that this is what I would do and this is what I would not do. And family has to step in and take care of those responsibilities. That's one. And only then they can focus, think, and aspire to climb up that ladder of leadership. Else they would, most times I feel what happens is women take this back step that, I would not want to take this leadership position because it's too much of responsibility. But I guess only if we learn to draw our boundaries and we become more self-confident and become more determined that no, we would go ahead and not let things fall through those cracks that exist in the community, the field would become equal, is what I feel. Yeah.
Agreed, most agreed. Very hard to do and very so important. Juanita, did you want to?
Yeah, just to pick up on where she left off. And I think the first thing is the culture shift and mindset to build inclusive of women. And that should not be like we have policies, procedures that tells us, yeah, we have 3 women in top management, blah, 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 and they leave within 3 years and nobody knows why they left. And, it has to be done through community programs, education, training, renew existing structures and programs, centralize it at the top leadership level, and champion it by the president. That's when we need that culture shift and mindset. And then holding other leaders accountable if that mindset. For example, I hired a female who was 2 months pregnant when she was hired, and then she has to go on maternity. Well, in my management team, I'm the only female. So they were laughing. They were like, oh, you just hired her and 6 months she's going on maternity leave. That statement is wrong. I stood up and told them that was wrong. And these are men with kids, right? So the culture shift is so important. I think the other big thing for women is flexibility. With all the childcare issues we talked about, right? The working hours, especially during the pandemic, when women are doing double, triple what they usually do, they have to check homework and all that. I've seen it personally with my staff, and I've tried to be very flexible. If they have to start at 6 a.m. and finish at 3 or take 2-hour break to attend to their kids, we should be able to allow that without any penalty, right? One of my staff accidentally asked HR for that. They were all over it. I have to come in and protect it. And I said, don't send any to HR. It's between you and I, right? And then when we talk about reduced hours for women, right? If I'm doing 6 hours, when I start and when I finish shouldn't be a problem. Working 4 days a week, longer days should be an option, right? So that I can still make up my 36 hours or whatever is required. So working arrangement that will enable us to manage our work and life, especially during the pandemic, is very, very critical. And how many organizations are doing that? Some would say, yeah, we have policies, we are doing it. Have any of them checking with the women who are being affected to see how effective it is? No, they are not, right? So I think there's a fundamental issue for this mindset to be leveled, but it has to start from the culture shift. There has to be more flexibility, job shadowing. Women don't have to have a choice. There has to be options for us. And then we have to have this, as Samia said, this mentorship, sisterhood, where we can lean on each other and see what is working for you and what's not working. And the reason why we need more options, because not one had fit at all. Everybody have different circumstances, right? And the other thing is, you see, I have friends who decided to stay home and there was a career gap. So it took them a long time to get back to the workforce. Why should that be? Why should taking time to take care of your child, having, a gap in your resume, be an issue for you getting a job or getting promotion? So these are all, it all boils down again to culture. So for me, above all, diversity, respect, inclusion is non-negotiable. It should be part of the system, whatever system it is. Whether it's at work, it's at church, volunteer, it should be part of the system. And it's not just on paper that, oh yeah, we have 4 people and, ladies, and whether, they have the flexibility and they are being respected, nothing is being done about it. So
I most agree with the culture change, because we can see policies are starting to come in, and I'm applauding this. I always have to applaud progress, but the difference is how people are approaching those policies, and they exist. But then if you make use of them and you have negative impact, this unseen impact, right? So you can see the culture has not, the policies is coming, but the culture has not totally caught up to it. So very important, and important to speak up And it's awesome, Juanita, that you said in there and speak up. And I think that's part of what Smitha is talking about, the sisterhood. We are all empowered to speak up. And if you see somebody at work or in any setting and saying something that should not be, you are in your right, and it is your devoir, it is your job to actually speak up. So I encourage everybody to not be shy. It doesn't have to be aggressive or confrontational, but that is how it works. If somebody speaks up for you, it makes you that much more powerful. Mary, you want to dive in?
I absolutely agree about speaking up. I feel like men advocate for themselves so much more than we women do. So definitely the speaking up. So when I was reflecting on this question, I couldn't help but I'm actually writing a grant right now. It's due next week. And I have, along with my CV, I have to prepare this 1-page document called Most Significant Contributions. And every time I work on this document, and I've tweeted this before, I want to just put a picture of my 2 happy, healthy, beautiful kids and call it end of the day, because they are my most significant contributions. And right now I'm really tempted to do that to this document. So I think we should also celebrate, again, we put so much pressure and burden on ourselves, and we do so much work, but we don't get credit for it. So I think we need to celebrate it. So that's why I actually tweet a lot about my research, my scientific life, but I also tweet about being a mother and I'm a woman in academia. And a lot of my students actually go to me and say they really appreciate that, because I don't just tweet about parenting success. I also tweet about parenting failures. Like the one day I sent my child to school with spaghetti with no cutlery or a napkin. And so I think it's when we start talking that, yes, we are doing great science, we are doing great work, but we're also raising children, because I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for the work that we do at home. And I think now that with platforms like this, with social media, there are opportunities to share that and really show people the reality of what it's like to be a woman in STEM.
Mm-hmm. I most agree. Accomplishment, we're such in a society that is driven by the bottom line and getting to this and raising those kids that are going to continue functioning in this world, and now going to have to put some stuff to save the planet. It's such an accomplishment, and you're right, it just goes without saying.
I just want to add one more thing about
please do.
Leveling the playing field. I think having more men advocating for it, and I've seen that in some organization. I was recently in a strategic planning for something a governance body, and it's a VP and is advocating for this and trying to incorporate it into the culture. I was in tears just listening to him talking about what he's doing to empower women and how he's promoting women. I was in tears. So I think having men, and for me having my 3 boys personally, and seeing my oldest girlfriend saying, "Oh, now I know why your son treats me with a lot of respect." My friends really look at him like Smith said, is educating those our kids, whether women or men, and letting the girls know that they need to speak up. Most of the people I mentor, I said, yeah, go speak up. Yes, you are in the boardroom, they do something, it's unfair. They take your ideas, speak up and let them know. And I've been very successful in transforming some of these ladies in doing that. So I think communication, having men on our side, advocating the culture, I think eventually we'll get there.
I agree. Yes, men allies are absolutely great, and there's someone in our organization, and it says, she always says, we don't need to fix women, which we all know, we need to fix the system. And we need a whole family and need a whole village to fix the system and do that cultural shift. So very important. Smitha.
Yeah. So Elizabeth, I guess one more point I just wanted to make was, personally, I've met some amazing men in my professional career. Some of my best or mentors or bosses have been men, and I guess what again, this is something we've been discussing, but I want to reinforce is that as women, if you open up, speak up, and convey what you want, they are very receptive to that. Unless you open up, many a times, I guess men don't even understand that this is a requirement. So I can give an example that, when post my second baby, I was coming back to work, And I conveyed to my organization that I would want a flexible working hours. I would not want to join full time, because for me, work is important, but at the same time, my kids are equally important. They were 5 and 1.5, and I wanted to spend that quality time with them. And my management was completely okay with that. Unless you go and tell them, uh, it's not necessary that it would get accepted, but no harm in going and at least communicating. You never know, the other person would understand that. So that's another very key point that one must keep in mind. And as I said, I've been very lucky to have bosses who have always been very receptive of this fact that, I can have flexible working hours and work from home at times when needed. So yeah, that's always a great plus.
I agree. In terms of, there's one thing that I learned during the pandemic that was repeated often, was that shaming does not work, but the way to change the world is education. And Juanita talked about this. And is it ever through communication and education is the way we're going to change it? And explaining, you're right, explaining, to our partner how we feel when we're still standing at the end of the day and somebody may be sitting before us, and how does it feel at work, right? And there's ways to communicate this, and the better communicator we are, the more success we're going to have. Very true. Education. We can do this. We can do this. All right. It is now time for the general question and answer from everyone. I have a few questions here that were passed on to me. The first one, and we talk about this, but it's so important, I'm going to do it again. So the question is, what is your tips for managing work-family balance? What is the best tip that you can put forward? Oh, Juanita, you dive in.
Okay. I think you first have to know yourself. Like I said, we have 24 hours. I have 24 hours. My husband have 24 hours. Like, I'm lucky I have a progressive husband who always steps up to help. So you have to know yourself, and you have to know within that 24 hours, how much are you devoting to work? How much are you devoting to childcare and household chores, unpaid labor? And how much are you devoting to yourself, right? So if on Saturdays, even when our kids were younger, I want to stay in, I don't get out of bed till noon, and that's my choice. And I have communicated that to my husband. So he knows he needs, whatever the kids want, he needs to do it, right? So you need to find time for yourself, right? And be you. Don't be afraid to speak up. So if you're overwhelmed, you break down, right? So the work-life balance is very, very important. And as talk about flexibility. And if they are not going to give it to you, what's more important to you? That self-reflection as to what is important to you and what you need to do is very important. I'll give you an example of myself. I work at an organization. That was the same organization that did not give me a pay raise because I was going on maternity leave. So at that time, it involved traveling. So my youngest was 8 months old. I went to Chile for 3 weeks and came back. I felt so guilty and so bad. He couldn't recognize me. So I said, no, enough is enough. I went to them. I said, oh, can I work flex time? And they said, no. The nature of our work is based on funding and blah, blah, blah. I said, has my work changed? They said, no. So anyway, I started looking for a job. So then I got a job. By then, my boss and I have published one paper that was supposed to be a phase 2. So when I was exiting, all of a sudden, you don't have to travel. I got triple the pay raise. Anything I wanted, I got it. They were giving it to me. Why didn't they give it to me till I was ready to exit? Even though it was attractive, I want to send a message. And the message was, don't play with women. So I left. And I must tell you, when I left, they ended up hiring a good friend of mine because my boss said, oh, we want someone like you, blah, blah, blah. And her experience was completely different because they learned from me exiting. So if we do that, and that's what my mission is to break these barriers by setting the tone and the expectation, the world will become a better place.
Oh, so many subjects. I totally agree with you in terms of, once you've announced that you're leaving, it doesn't matter what comes in through. We can have a whole other panel on this. Thank you for sharing, Juanita. Very, very good. Smitha,
So if I
Mary?
could just
Yeah,
add just a quick tidbit to that is I actually became a better scientist when I became a mother because I learned to be more efficient. Because to be honest, a confession, when I was in grad school, I'd work on something. Oh, I might just go on Facebook, or I'll do this, or let me go for coffee. But now, when I'm a mother, it's like I only have 8 hours of this day. I'm gonna use all that 8 hours because I don't want to have to be not a mother from 5 to 9. So I guess I've learned to compartmentalize my time. So 9 to 5, I'm a scientist. After 5 to 9, I'm a mom, and no emails will get responded. Nothing will happen because I want to be full time. So I think, yeah, knowing oneself and for each role, being 100% present for it, but protecting that role. So I know people talk about juggling. There's juggling, but I feel like you have to keep the balls in each space too. So yeah.
That compartmentalization is very, very important. That you have different buckets.
Yes, I had similar experience. I was only working on 4 days a week so that I could be with the kids the one day. And my husband did the same, actually. So the kids had 4 days with the family and only 3 days at the care. And you have 4 days, that's 32 hours. And I became so efficient because you're right, when you get home, and that was the danger with technology, which allow you to bring your work home. So absolutely making decisions. So Juanita actually said best, know yourself and know what you want to do. Because even if you have that laptop and you can bring it home, and we all have done the shift from 9 to 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. to midnight, and it is not a good shift. It is not a good shift to get on. So by all means, know yourself, set your boundaries, and compartmentalize. Back to what's important. Very, very good. Now there was. Let's talk. You can see here. You can see the panel. There is a common thread, which everyone that I'm talking to here is not shy to ask and communicate. And that is very key. And someone is asking back to, about the strike in the house. I was given as an example, against your partner. So should you go on strike in the house? There are all kinds of different methods of communicating. So someone was asking about this. So Mary said that she went for it and it actually worked. So I am going to actually invite Smitha and Juanita because sometimes it may be cultural differences. What do you think about the well-intentioned strike within a household?
I guess if you'll ask me again, my personal opinion, as long as it's just two of you, it's fine. You can go on a strike. But when kids are involved, I personally do not believe or have never fought in front of kids. That's a very, conscious decision that I do not want that kind of argument to happen in front of kids. And the best is to, resolve it, communicate in some way or the other to your better half that this is what needs to be done. This is what has to be done. And one cannot just go on, giving the whole responsibility on one partner's shoulders. So I would not believe on a strike because that's going to disrupt the working of the household. But I would prefer that there is a clear communication that happens between the partners. And even if that means it's a bedroom fight, but it's like not a strike.
I should give more context to that. So it wasn't a big fight. Like it was simply like I did not appreciate a comment that you're home all day when I am actually working. I don't have a choice. I am working all day. So the one task that didn't get done, it was something that could actually go without like disrupting the household, but just to make a point that yes. I am not working at home. So I don't encourage like, fighting with your partners, but I do encourage just, if something that you can live with, again, if it's a dirty house and you can live with a dirty house, then just let it go for a couple of days and see it will clean itself. So and don't
And for me, that's what I do. I have adult boys. I don't want to see their room. I close the door. If they bring stuff that they leave on the island, I don't want the bowls. I take it and I put it on their bed. My son said, so Mom, you walk past the kitchen all the way upstairs and put it on my bed. I said, yes, I'm sending a message, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, again, it's back to knowing yourself and what you can live
Yes.
with, right? So I can't do it all. So like vacuuming, I don't know how to vacuum. So even if my husband has been great, but if it's as dirty as it is, I don't know how to. So I'm not going to do it. I have to learn to live with the fact that it's not as good as I would like it, but I don't know how. They know that, and I'm not doing it. Eventually it will be done, right? So and setting the tone. Like I love to cook. So during the pandemic, we are all working from home. They expect lunch, right? They will come, oh, are you making salad today? I love your salad. I was like, what? I'm working. So sometimes now what I realize, they don't even ask. They know if I'm going to cook, I'll be there by around 11:30. So if I'm not, they open my door, check in, and then they go do their own stuff, right? So I think the most important thing is setting the expectation, right? When my boys were young, I would say, Mommy's kitchen closes at 8 o'clock. After 8, you're on your own. Right?
Very good.
So it's setting the expectation and letting, and things that you do that to are things that you have to be comfortable with, and it's not going to kill anybody. Right?
No, I completely agree, Vanita. I guess that's what even again in India, I guess I would say we are very lucky because you get help. You can hire help for cooking, for cleaning, for household chores. You still do get that help. But regardless, I am very clear that kids cannot demand or expect special meals to be cooked at any point during the weekdays or weekend. They have to also see mommy's timetable, schedule, and whatever is cooked in the house has to be eaten by all. There's no space in our family. We all eat together, but there's no space that you can refuse that, no, I would not eat this, but I need this on my plate. So those are certain things that can make life of a working mom much simpler and much easier to deal with, rather than taking care of their tantrums and feeling guilty. That's another point, I guess, that as a mom, as a woman, we should not feel guilty that I am not able to provide this just because my kid asked for a particular dish on the plate. That feeling of guilt has to completely get out if we want to also succeed in a career.
Oh yeah, and that's how they start cooking, because if they want to eat something that you no longer want to cook, it's like you get to do it. This is great. Absolutely. There's still some question about the imposter syndrome, right? Which we know it's still there. Hopefully it's diminishing. I'm hoping that I can see some stat that the imposter syndrome is slowly going away. However, acknowledging that we still suffer from it. What do you suggest? How do you deal with it personally? Mary, do you want to start?
I think just acknowledging that, because it's something that I don't think goes away. So I think it is just a step back to just know that there is strength in you and you are, an able woman. So, I mean, every time I write a grant or every time I go into something different, I do have imposter syndrome. Like, am I good enough? And the answer, I think, is yes. So I think it's a mindset, because imposter syndrome is also an issue of the mind. So I think the best way to counteract it is to change that mindset.
No, and just to add, and I think we know ourselves. And like Mary said, if you go into anything new, you feel that like you don't know, but that's why you've been asked to. So I remember my boys' school there, I was asked to be on the board of directors, and I was the only Black. My son said, what? They asked you? I said, yeah, they asked me. I'm going to do it. And I was like, And I remember the first meeting, I was so quiet and I was listening to everybody, just quiet because I didn't know what to do. But the second one, I started contributing because they had topics that I could, and then I felt comfortable, right? So the thing is, we know what we have, but we are afraid to bring it there because of the people around the table. But you are a person too. They've seen something in you. That's why they ask you to be there. So what is it that they haven't you have that they want you to talk about, right? And I think for me, like I said in my introduction, that have given me more confidence. Some people will go, I'm overconfident. But then growing up, I was a nerd. I was very quiet. Nobody would believe that today, but that's who I am. I used to be. But you need to speak up, right? I had a staff member who was an architect who, always, he's the only girl with the guys, and you come to me, and with the culture differences, originally from India, and then I'll coach her and mentor her. And now people said, oh, you are becoming like Juanita, you can't shut up, right? So I say, if I can do it, she can do it, we can all do it. We just have to learn to, take your baby steps, what you are comfortable with, but please don't shut up. Talk. Say something. You are there. You are at the table for a reason. So if you don't speak or you feel, undermined, you are feeling it. You are bringing it on yourself, right? So that's what I would say.
No, I guess very valid point, Junita. What I would add and what I, again, do myself is I've learned to celebrate every success. Even a failure, you introspect, but you learn to celebrate your success, and that gives you further confidence. I would not say overconfidence, but confidence to, go on and repeat or do something new and and not be scared or shy off. And that's something, that confidence has come because I've learned to acknowledge that whatever success or whatever good that happens has happened because I've put in that hard work into it. That really helps. That helps to that has actually helped me become more confident over the years. And now I don't think, as Vanita, you just said, I don't keep shut. If I feel that something is not right, even if that means that I have to write a letter to the director saying this has not been done correctly, I guess I can gather that confidence because over the years I practiced it. At one point in time, if I can share here on the panel, this is even post my schooling, I didn't know how to speak in English. It's not our first language, and the place where I grew up, English was not at all, considered important. My English teacher would speak in our native language, Hindi. So, but it's only over the years, when I was in the college, it was not easy. But yes, you get that support. If you make a point that you have to learn it, and you show that confidence to others that no, you want to learn and do that and express yourself, I guess people around you are also very supportive and kind of help you take that extra step and go forward. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Smitha. We like to underline building on successes, as you mentioned. I think that is absolutely key, and to build our self-confidence.
Yes.
I personally would like to push harder that imposter syndrome is something we absolutely need to get rid of. We're talking about cultural shift. This is something that we need to create in ourselves and among ourselves. We certainly have all of our place at the table, and we should speak up. And I don't know about you, but every time I look backwards in my career or something, every time I look at previous work, I am amazed about how brilliant it is. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Who did this? Like, how come I didn't know? So as much as, I don't know which one mentioned no overconfidence, I think it's okay. You know how it is. My partner is a control engineering. We have this line we're achieving to, and we are playing under the line. And in order to move to the line, we should have period. And when we have successes, it is okay. Do know that it is okay to be overconfident. We don't have to be arrogant. We're women. We're not going to get there. But it is okay to have that self-confidence because it's going to help you and it's going to help bring people along you. That imposter syndrome is something that and if we don't achieve it, our daughters and our granddaughters need to get rid of. It does not serve us, and it's a cultural shift that we need to all push for. I mean, look at everybody here around the table. Unbelievable that it's there, and I see it as this little devil that we have on our head, right on our shoulder. So we have to empower the other one that builds on our successes. Anyways, thank you so much. Thank you for all the questions that are coming. Now we're going to be going to breakout rooms, so hopefully we can have more questions. And I would like to invite the person who's going to tell us how going to the breakout room is going to come and explain it to us.
Yes, hi. My name is Christine, and I'm Director for Events for Squist. I am opening the following rooms. If you want to meet with Elizabeth, you will be going to room 1. So everybody can choose your room except the speakers and the moderator. Room 2 will be with Dr. Mary De Vera, and room 3 with Juanita. And room 4, which is the main room, will be with Dr. Smitha Jani. All right, so everyone, I'm going to open the rooms now, and you can choose where to go. Do you have the invitation, Elizabeth? All right, great. Is everyone good with choosing the rooms they want to go to? Noeen, do you see any choice?
Yes, I do see choice. So which room you would like me to go, because I can just go and maybe I can hop in between different rooms,
Yes, go ahead, yes. And we shall start with Dr. Smitha Jani in this room.
Okay.
I also invite everyone who's in this room to please put on your video if you're comfortable, so we would have a better interaction. Okay. Hi, Sally.
Hello.
How are you?
Okay.
Where are you joining us from?
I came late because I was at another meeting, so
Oh.
I'm not sure which room to go to.
Okay. Do you have any questions for Smitha?
No. Don't think so. See.
I see Carol. Anne, are you joining this this room, Carol?
So we are in a room now.
Yes, we are.
Aha. Okay, I'm getting with it. When you're talking about Backlash, it's really about relationships with the men, isn't it? Have you talked about education and so on?
Sorry, Sally, I didn't get your question. Christine, maybe if you want to. Sally, can you please repeat the question?
Well, the backlash is when you try to do something good and the men don't like it, right? But have you talked about how you educate the men so they have different attitudes?
I guess it's a very tough question, Sally, but it takes time, especially, when you've grown up for 30 long years with a certain mindset in a certain cultural way. And then changing those is not easy. It doesn't happen overnight. For me personally, it has taken many years to, convey to my better half what my expectations are, what I would like, or how I would like to, be in a household. It has taken a long time, but thankfully, he has understood over time. I know of many families where such a change has never happened. And so yes, and this has happened over long walks, long discussions, fights. But yes, it has happened. It has really happened, because over time, at least my husband understood that, Smitha alone cannot take care of everything, and he needs to pitch in to, take off equal role in the household. And and, and thankfully the pandemic has further helped that. With pandemic, things have drastically changed. So yeah, it's for good. And I hope that answers your question, Sally.
Yes, it's a start. I don't think I want to wait for years and just one-on-one sort of fighting and solving the problem. I think the problem is much bigger, it covers a lot of people. I remember a long time back story of a village where the men got a bit of money and they took their women's money, went and bought alcohol, came rolling drunk back and were violent. So the women in the village decided to deal with this. And when he came rolling back, he met a whole group of women standing, looking at him. And they were able to eventually talk to the men of the village and explain what was wrong and why the women needed money to buy perhaps more lambs to grow up and make a small business and so on. So I think there's something that can be done on a bigger scale than one-to-one.
No, I completely agree. I guess no second thought about it, but that has to happen again in a country like India. That cultural change will take time because the families work very, very differently. The family structures are very different. As I said, boys are not expected nor are taught to take care of the household chores or relationships or any other responsibility, whereas there's a lot that's expected from a girl. And the same happens when the girl gets married and goes to the other household. The whole expectation lies on the females. And for that to change, it will take time. I guess with more education, with more confidence, with women becoming more vocal and such platforms coming through, change is happening, but I would say at a much, much smaller or or at a pace that will still take years to get to an equal playing field, at least in a country like India. But lucky, I feel people like us are lucky where things or middle class families where women have got education, they are earning, they have understood this, and they are the ones who can bring in the change, and hopefully the next generation would change. But I agree, this has to be done at a much broader societal level, not just individual level.
So who is teaching in the schools? I mean, if women teachers are there, can they affect the curriculum? Can they introduce a bit more about relationships? I mean, we need this in my country anyway, so.
No, I agree, but that has happened. Luckily, just this year when I was teaching my daughter one of her political science chapter, there is a chapter on gender equality, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see that chapter, that whole topic of unpaid labor, how a woman takes the burden of both work and household work, and how that's not given importance, and how that cultural change has to be brought in. So those are things which will help bring a change in times to come. So it's happening. Teachers are now talking about equality. They are telling boys as well in the schools, at least in schools that I know of. They are being taught all this at the school level as well, which would definitely bring in that change in the mindset. Because I see my kids now, when you tell them about inequality that, let's say, you have faced or someone else has faced 10 years, 20 years back, and they find it really strange because they are like, why was it like that? Just the other day, I saw this girl sitting in a tea shop having her cup of tea all by herself. And I I made this comment that it's nice to see a girl sitting all by herself having her cup of tea. And my son was like, so what? So for him, this was a completely normal thing. But yes, for me, it's still something different. So that's a good change, I would say.
Hi, it seems that there was a tech glitch here, and we have our speakers, some of our speakers in this room, but um,
They told us we were brought back. So I think
Yeah.
my room 2 is back here now.
oh, shall we redo this then? Okay, hold
Awful
on.
lot of people muted.
It says all rooms are going to close in 42 seconds, and Juanita is there. Let's take this opportunity to have a rest. Hold on, please. And how was the discussions in your rooms? Good? Okay. I just have to wait for 22 seconds to just close everything because I don't see the...
It was all good. We were just getting to the juicy bits when we got interrupted.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were doing our introductions and then we were brought over back to here.
Yeah, hold on, okay.
This is like that time machine that can take you from one space to another.
Okay, and it says I can open the rooms again, which is...
Turning to session again.
Yes, I will do that right now.
Oh, okay.
Yes, just a
Christine,
second, just
what's
give-
going on? Because we
Yes.
went back into the
We're
breakout
back
room.
and
Then
forth.
Yeah, it's
question
okay.
was going on, and then we came back.
Yes,
in
I
the
realized that there was a glitch, and so I'm going to open the rooms again. And happy talking.
Thank you.
You might be brought in again for 10 minutes if
How much time do we have?
we have 20 more minutes.
28.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, good. There you go. Hi, Madeline. Welcome. Do you have any question? Oh, why don't we do some introductions? We can start with Madeline or Gun. Shall we have some introductions around here? Sarita, Indre, would you want to? There you go. Hi, where are you joining us from?
Lithuania.
Oh, cool. Welcome. Do you have any questions for Smita?
I'm afraid I missed the beginning, so I don't
Any
know.
question, Indra, if you have any question, any point that you want to raise, it'll be good
Yeah.
to hear.
Okay, maybe I will start with a question. What do you think about the term of gender equality? Why is it equality and not equal worth? Or because I cannot say I'm equal to my husband. I mean, it's not, it's a nonsense
I
in
agree.
itself. But
No, I guess,
I am not lower than him. I mean, yeah.
no, I
So-
agree. I guess this word, this term, as you very rightly pointed out, has a very, origin from a state where definitely the genders were not considered equal. And that's how this term has been coined, where, someone's trying to bring in women to that level. But I completely agree. These two can never be equal. Biologically, physically, we are very different. Our minds think very differently. What needs to happen in times to come is, as we have been discussing throughout, a mindset shift, wherein the two genders or the other categories as well, everyone learns to accept the person as they are, rather than having these very stereotyped impressions about a given gender. That notion has to change. And I feel if that happens, everyone learns to accept and respect the person from any other gender, world would be so much a better place. And we don't have to call for this equality. And that's my take.
respect for everyone. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I think it's wonderful that we are so diverse. You know, we've all got different skills and so on, and it's we complement each other. It's excellent. The important thing is to remember that we are still like one family. We do depend on each other. We're interconnected. So this sort of feeling of unity, even though we're different, is very important. But I think when you're talking about equality, I was impressed when I found on Google this little picture of equity explained. And I thought, what's the difference between equality and equity? And with these people wanting to look over a wall, do you know what I mean? Have you seen that picture, perhaps?
I'm so sorry.
If you
Can I go on? My video is not working, but anyways, I'm sure you ladies can hear me. The gender equality question. From origin of the world, God created man and woman, and that creation, I didn't see the portion where the man should just subdue the woman and put the woman under her without any freedom of opinion. Despite the woman should be under a husband while the husband is the head. In some homes, women they're not even allowed to talk. They're not even allowed to make any decision about themselves. They don't even have any choice about the food they eat. So with education and empowerment and enlightenment program like this is opening up some ground to give women that a little bit of freedom, that empowerment is just freedom of to make certain choices that will benefit their life. Previously, my grandmom had about 12 kids. Imagine what that is. But present day, at least because of empowerment and education, women are being educated that is on your body, is your health. Yes. Minimizing that will give you a longer lifespan because the economic situation of present day is different from there. Then women, they don't have rights, no right, they're just being used. Even married women in our traditional African context, women is just like a slave. They are the last people at home. Even in India, they're just like servants, serve the whole family. Girls, we are brought up that you do all the house chores, do everything, while boys are just relaxing and sleeping but because of education, eyes are open, everyone is equal. If I can cook, my husband can cook. I'm just blessed I'm from a Latin family. At times I will sleep, he will cook, I'll get up, he said, no, let me do the cooking. I'll try to do the dishes. He said, no, let me try to do the dishes. But in some homes, it's not like that. So this empowerment, this gender equality issue, not that we are dragging to be on the same position with men, but it's giving women a little bit of freedom, a little bit of breadth to have themselves, to have certain level of decision, both from the house to government desk. Thank you.
I guess very, very rightly put together. So as Indra also brought up, I guess it's not just the question of equality. I guess that we can never achieve, nor one should, strive to become equal, because if that happens, I guess word would come to a standstill. I can say that because as again, Sally also pointed out, we complement each other. We cannot be equal. And if the world has to run successfully in a cohesive manner, we need to learn to complement, not treat one gender as a slave, not treat that one gender as someone who will take on all the responsibilities. I guess that mindset shift, which we have been discussing from the very start of this panel, is something very, very important. I guess I completely agree that this term should be maybe should bring in a different meaning, not just bringing both to the same pedestal in terms of equal rights. Equal rights are important, but I guess rather than asking for that physical, mental equality, what we should demand is that women get that respect that they deserve in the society. That's important. If that happens, I guess most of the problems will get solved.
I think it's nice to think of a society where people really are applying justice and being fair to each other, because some men feel very inadequate and they want to be as confident as the woman or their mother and so on. So sometimes the man needs lifting up a bit, and sometimes it's the woman needs lifting up. Both of us, all of us, actually need encouragement and help, and to be appreciated. When you said respect, that's it, isn't it, really? It's being kind to each other.
Yep, yep. I guess I completely agree, Sally. It's this complementation and working together is what will bring in the justice and what will create a just society, rather than just one gender demanding. Because I really feel that we cannot forever just keep demanding for the rights that we deserve. For how long one can, the others also have to accept and learn to respect women as well. That's very, very important. Sally, if I can ask you, where are you from?
I live in England.
Okay.
Not so far from London. If I got on a train, take me half an hour to London.
Lovely. So maybe if you can also, if you would want to share, because you have seen a much longer, you have much more experience than any one of us here. So the
You're
kind
not
of changes.
necessarily wiser if you're older.
No, but the experiences always count. It's the experience that matters, right? And I'm sure you've seen a major transformation even in UK, in society in UK. And if you would want to share that would be lovely to hear.
I don't know, I was talking to my daughter the other day, and I said, we're very fortunate because even in my mother's lifetime, they hadn't yet brought the laws in that made sure that any property she had stayed with her, but the husband had just taken everything over. And in fact, voting wasn't completely clear in all cases. So I think, there's been quite a lot of changes, slow changes, but when the war came and the men were in the army and away, the women had to run the country. They became land girls, they worked in factories, they made armaments, they discussed how they could get by on minimal food rations and so on. And when the war was over, back came the men and said, now, we want to be in charge. We're here now, away you go. And they wanted to just wipe the women all away. You can understand their feeling, but it wasn't really sensible, because you were losing a lot of people's skills.
That's interesting.
Mm.
Hello, Ugochi. Where are you from? Ugochi or Hajuruka. How are you from and how are you?
You must unmute yourself. You can't be heard.
Unmute.
Sorry, fine, thank you. I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
I can hear you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm zooming in from Abuja, Nigeria.
Welcome. How are you?
Yes, thank you. Wonderful conversation. I've been listening attentively for the past 10 minutes. And I would like to just add in one or two things concerning the issue of gender equality that we are discussing. Yes, we are still trying to see how we can bridge the gap between both genders. And I was just trying to add that we are asking that we should leave no one behind. We shouldn't leave the female gender behind. We should give them a chance and an opportunity is actually what we are asking, not like we want to be equal with the men, because for cultural reasons and religious reasons, it's permeating into that issue and is affecting the advocacy. When we work in the field, for instance, I work with young girls. I'm a medical doctor and I work in development space, and we run advocacy with adolescent health girls around menstrual hygiene management and sexual and reproductive health education. And we discover that a lot of girls come late to school. A lot of girls miss school because of their periods.
Yeah.
A lot of girls miss school because of stereotypes. They have to go fetch water first. They have to go sell to trade, to help their families, to sustain the family. A lot of them have to take their younger ones first to school before they come to school. So you see these gender roles keeping girls and restraining women from achieving their full potential. And that is why when we work with young girls, we tell them they can be whatever they want to be in life. I believe in intergenerational change. So if we go with the young ones, so when these young girls are growing up, they will learn that they don't have to treat their daughters the way our generation have been treated, because we have been cheated, and we should teach our girls to take up leadership responsibility, to be able to speak up for themselves. So if we have failed, in quotes, as girls, as women, we can help these younger ones coming up to give them that mindset that they shouldn't do that to their daughters, their little ones, when they grow up to become women. They should have babies that they can take care of. They should be able to make a choice for themselves. They should be able to speak up for themselves. They should take up leadership roles. Their voice should not be restricted in the bedroom or in the kitchen. They should come out and advocate for themselves. So let's start with the young girls. Let's start with this new generation of girls. And I'm happy when I see girls like Malala Yusuf. I see girls, the climate change advocate girls. I see young girls coming into development space, being activists. It excites me. We have a great future ahead. Yes, now it's disappointing what we see, the issue of gender equality. We are struggling with men on the table. We are struggling with them on a lot of things, on issues that we shouldn't struggle with them on. Even when women issues are discussed, they are being discussed by men. And you find that they're taking decisions and women are not on the table, and they're taking decisions concerning our bodies. So the narrative has to change. If we can give the young girls their voices, when they grow up, the narrative will be different. So that is what we do in the field with the young girls that we work with. Well, yes, we train them around menstrual hygiene management. We train them to take care of themselves, to make sanitary pads for themselves. But at the same time, we try to squeeze in this advocacy around leadership skills, around them being activists, speaking up for themselves, and taking leadership roles when they eventually get the chance to.
No,
sorry, I hope I didn't bore you.
No. That's so good to know,
like that.
Vashi. That's really good to know. I guess, yes, it's again very, very important. We discussed such issues at the beginning of the panel that, the advocacy and even the sisterhood, women start helping other women, taking care, becoming the voice of those who are not very vocal. All those changes will go a long way. Just a small incident or and a change that we brought at the house, when you were talking of the menstrual hygiene, or when my daughter started with her periods, I decided that this is no longer going to be a taboo subject in the household. Again, most of the Indian households, it's a very taboo subject. No one talks about it. It's like, it's a hush-hush topic. And I told her very clearly, I made both my kids, the boy and the girl, sit together and very openly discuss this. And she became so comfortable about it. They go to the same school, and my son went, for next few months, he would go and check on with her that everything is okay in the school. So, and today there is absolutely no restriction or inhibition when such a topic comes up, because we can very openly talk about it. And I guess those are, again, small changes that we need to bring, as women who have achieved, even if it's a small person, as women, we need to become aware of such things and bring in that change. That's very, very important. So I guess, Ugochi, credits to you that the kind of work you are doing and what you just shared here. Lovely to hear that.
Thank you so much, Smitha.
Yeah. Anyone else wants to share? Christine, how long do we have
Our
here?
colleagues are coming back in 30 seconds.
Okay.
And,
okay.
Yeah, we can wrap up.
Great. No, this has been
Ugochi.
lovely.
Hello, Ugochi.
Yeah.
In the States, you based in Nigeria, right?
Yes, please.
Yeah, is there any program we can collaborate? Because I have an NGO running in Nigeria. I'm looking for sisters that I can work with. Have resources that we can share together to empower girls down there, both skills, educational, and the field where you are.
Yes. I will have to interrupt you, Chuchi. Chiche, could you just please contact Oguchi after the session? Maybe you can chat your contact details, because our colleagues are back and we are closing soon. I will hand off the platform to Noeen, or is it Elizabeth?
Elizabeth will say a few words about moderating when she moderated this event, and also about speakers, and then I will close it down with some quiz things, like as a member of the quiz.
All right.
Okay. Well, I did just ask, and people are still coming in. I did just ask in my breakout room, but I'm going to ask out of the session today, if there's one thing that you're going to take away and run with it, what was it? What is it? And I encourage people to write it in the chat. And while you think about this, I will tell you that mine, the one takeaway that I have is the one thing that Juanita said, which is know yourself, and how important it is to set it out. And as much as I don't know how many times people have told me this, keep forgetting. So I want to thank Juanita for reminding me once again to take the time to know myself so that then I can set it out. So thank you, Juanita.
You're welcome.
And hopefully you had a good time. I think, I believe that Christine will be sharing information, and if anybody wanted to reach out to me and chat some more, by all means, please do. I am readily available on LinkedIn, and I would be happy to hear from you. So hopefully that was useful. You had a good time, learned a few tips, and we're going to keep pushing for the cultural change that we all wish to see. So thank you very much for coming. And I'll pass it on to Noeen.
Hello everyone, I am Noeen. I am currently working in Squeezed as an acting director of events under mentorship of Christine Carino. She is here, so she is actually my mentor too. So it was really a wonderful event. I would like to say thanks to Elizabeth for moderating it. It was, Elizabeth, you did a wonderful job. I really enjoyed all questions and answers and all discussion. And I would like to say thanks to Smitha, to Yonita, and to Mary. All of you women are really wonderful women, and I would say at the same time very inspirational. Basically, I could learn a lot from all of you, like by discussing all these points and going through different questions from chat, from audience too, and looking at experiences of other women, what they are going through during this pandemic and being a parent. So I got actually a few points from this discussion that I would like to tell everyone. Few points were really good. Like, for example, you should stand to claim your right, and communication is a key to success, and arguments should be avoided in front of children, because even if you have something to discuss with your partner, it's better to do it like behind the scene, because children can get the negative vibes from it. And being responsible is very important, but at the same time you need to be accountable also for your own actions too. It is like give and take situation, like a barter trade thing, I would say. And one thing that Yonita also mentioned about the being setting expectations. Don't set the expectations of your children. Like you have to set their timetable when they are kids, when they are in the growing phase, because that's the age when children will get those whatever you schedule for them, they will take it as their habits and it will be the part of their daily lives. And it's very important to raise them in a proper way, because they are going to be representative of your society, of your family, and of your nation in future. So mindset change is also very important, of course, and that actually I think that's like a starts as a root when men are little, like boys, so they're also helping their mothers in the household stuff, and they are realizing that when they grow up, that how when they are getting married, so what could be their responsibilities in daily stuff. The other thing was that self-confidence is important, but at the same time, you don't have to be very arrogant. I think Elizabeth said it very clearly also, that you don't have to be very arrogant. Say your point in a polite and respectful way, convey your opinion, and show them the scene, like show them the scenario, that this is a scenario, this is a situation, and this is my opinion. Now, rest is your choice. These could be the consequences if it cannot happen this way, and not the rest is your decision and the rest is your choice. But it's good to properly communicate, but not in an arrogant way. And the one thing was that also about being integrating and like being included. And that's what you can do when you speak up. Like, for example, when you are at workplace and you need to really speak up what you need, because people would not know, don't have a path directly to your heart. They can read it, see. So you have to like build those connections. If you see that some people are very difficult, you can go out for a coffee or something, make social connections. Because if I don't know the other person, I haven't worked with them, or I haven't chatted with that person, and the other people are telling me about that person, instead of believing those stories, better if I can communicate directly with that person, and I can socialize more, so I can get to know that person much better, that why that person is so silent, and why that woman is so silent at workspace. Is it a part of her nature, or is she going through, is she shy, or is she like going through some pressure, and that's why she cannot speak up, or she cannot raise her opinion. Always break the ice when you are in group meetings at workplace, because once you are breaking ice, then other women also get inspiration from you and they will follow up. So with all these points, I think we have just 3 minutes left, so I would just talk about our upcoming events. We are getting like being a part of Squiz, we always organize very wonderful workshops which are very important for your career development, also for your personal growth. They are related to like roundtable discussions, to the like mentoring, to like a scientific skill learning type workshops. And also we are going to have 1 hour symposium. I would like to share my screen quickly and I will show you. You can distribute it if you are based in Canada, you can distribute it with your students. It is organized across the Canada. It is a national competition for women in STEM, and you can see here, so they can go through this website and we have a very good panel, and we have 5 different categories where they can submit abstracts, and we are getting very good feedback for this. And we have they can win some prizes at the end, and they can also build their confidence to like represent their research work. Here is the application form at the end. They can submit their abstracts, and the deadline for this is April 15th. So with that, actually, I would like to give it to Christine, because of course she is the head of and she is I think this event, she really put her all effort into it. So I would like to give it to her, and she would like to say anything about this event. Thanks everyone. Thanks for your.
Thank you, Noe. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning or evening or afternoon, wherever you are. Our special thanks to our speakers, Dr. Smitha Jani, Dr. Mary Vera, Juliet De Souza Huleti, our moderator, Swiss Director for Impact and Policy, Elizabeth Paul, and a shout out to our organizing team, Anya Lanz, Noin Malik, Andrew Bajaj, and Annie Ain. Thank you very much, and please check us out on squiz.ca. Let's connect after this session. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. I have to shut down the live stream
Okay.
and